Hi there, this is Jeanette Comerford. In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can use your Copic Airbrush system and stencils to create fun backgrounds for your cards. Today's card is measuring 4 by 4, and I cut a piece of white cardstock to size, and now I'm just going to decide what part of the stencil I want to airbrush. And once I decide that, I'm going to carefully place it down. And I'm going to use some post-it tape to hold down my stencil. I'm going to secure it on all 4 sides to make sure that my stencil doesn't move around while I'm using my airbrush system. If you don't have post-it tape, you can use washi tape or even painter's tape, and that works just as well. So this is my nozzle for the airbrush system, and this is the first color I'm using. I'm going to put my marker in chisel side, and for this type of airbrushing, or for using it with the stencil, I'm going to be spraying the color not uniformly. I'm sort of it has a mottled effect, I would say. So I do that by not holding down the nozzle with the same pressure, so that sort of gives bursts of air and you get this sort of mottled effect. So basically I'm just sort of filling in some white areas with this violet color. I'm moving on to a brighter orange color, and again I'm just sort of spraying it in little concentrated bursts. And I know right now it doesn't look great, but bear with me and you'll see that as we continue airbrushing, it's going to look beautiful. So now I've got this dark gray, and with the dark gray I'm going to be applying uniform pressure to my nozzle and making sure that I'm airbrushing consistently over the whole stencil. So you get a really nice uniform coverage, and you can see how that's softening out the darker bursts of color on my paper. Now I just stopped there for a minute. I'm just adjusting. Sometimes you have to adjust your marker. Make sure that the air is running over the chisel properly. And I'm just continuing to go over my stencil until it looks how I want it to look. So I decided that wasn't nearly dark enough for me. I wanted it a bit darker. So I took a darker gray, and I'm going to use that, and I'm going to concentrate more along the sides or the edges of the stencil, and just darken it up a little bit. And this was kind of the look I was going for, so I was happy to use the darker gray. And I'll just sort of lightly spray over the whole thing. And I'm going to go back to that original light orange color, and I'll again uniformly spray over the whole thing. And that softens up any sort of harsh lines where you could see too much of one color showing through. And I'll take the violet color and just go over the sides a little bit. So basically when you're doing this, you just work at it until you get the desired effect. So now I'm going to remove the stencil, and you can see what a really neat background that creates. And I just wipe my mat with paper towel with some rubbing alcohol on it, and that just cleans up the mess. And you can clean your stencil with the same thing. So I'm going to attach this now to my card base. And I had already colored and cut out the little figure. This is an image from Magnolia Stamps, and it's called Bat Tilda. It's from their So Spooky collection. So I'm just trying to decide exactly where I want to put it. So I kind of decided on that spot there. I'm going to press it down really well. I'm going to take my Wink of Stella brush in clear, and I'm just going to go over part of the wings there just to add a little bit of interest, since the majority of the coloring is gray on her costume. If I add a little bit of glitter, it kind of makes it pop out a little bit. And then I went ahead and did some on her ribbon, and just at the bottom there's a little cuff there, so I went over the cuff as well. So then I decided I wanted just something a little extra on the card, since it's really one-dimensional and there's not a lot of layers. I decided to add some gemstones. So these are just clear adhesive gems, and I'm just laying down different sizes. There's some larger ones, medium ones, little tiny ones, and I'm just sort of scattering them on the four sort of quadrants of my card. And I'm not putting a whole lot of thought about where they're going. I'm just sort of adding them. And you can see how that makes everything just sort of pop a little bit more. It makes the airbrushing stand out, and it just makes your card a little more interesting. So I've got my final 3 that I'm adding, and then my card is done. So thanks a lot for watching my video. I will have a link in the information to my blog with links to supplies. Thank you.